Hello students, welcome to the program. The topic chosen for the program is Indian Universities Commission 1902. The objectives set for the program are to know about the Indian Universities Education Commission 1902, to know about the circumstances that lead to the appointment of the commission, to know about the purpose of the commission, to know about the recommendations of the commission, and lastly, to become familiar with the features of the period from 1902 to 1921. Dear students, Lord Curzon was appointed as Governor General of India in 1899. He was very educated, efficient, bold, and widely travelled Asia. During the viceroyalty of Lord Curzon, education in India was reviewed very critically and steps were taken to improve the various branches of education. He brought reforms in administration and Indian education. Lord Curzon had a view that there was no change in university education because the universities had not followed the guidelines of London University. In 1901, Lord Curzon convened at Shimla an educational conference which was attended by a few selected educationists and the provincial directors of public instruction. For the first time, the Chancellor asked the university to consider the possibility of the constitutional reforms. In March, a strong representation of the need for inquiry and action was made by a number of professors and heads of the colleges. In September, a conference was held at Shimla which made a preliminary survey of the whole educational field. On 27th of January 1902, the Indian Universities Commission was appointed. Inquiries continued through February, March and April, and the report was published in June. One of the first results of the Shimla conference was the appointment of Indian University Commission, which was appointed under the chairmanship of Mr. Thomas Raleigh. The other members included were Justice Gurudas Banerjee, Mr. A.G. Bonnet, Mr. G.P. Hewitt, Mr. A. Padler, D. Mackintosh, and Syed Hussain. Dear students, let's have a look over the circumstances leading to the appointment of the Indian University Commission 1902. There were three important reasons for the appointment of the commission. First, the defects of the university education were glaring and nothing had been done to remodel the Indian universities, since they were established and the matter was left untouched by the Indian Education Commission of 1882. Secondly, the London University, which had served as a model to Indian universities, was reorganized in 1898. Hence, it was considered worthwhile to go into the various aspects of university education in India. Third, the Conference of the Educationists in 1901 had made several recommendations. The Commission's recommendations on university education have been regarded merely as rehabilitation and the strengthening of the existing system. Then, what was the purpose of this commission? Purpose of the commission was to help Lord Curzon to inquire into the conditions and prospects of the universities established in British India, then to consider and report upon any proposal which have been or may be made for improving their constitution and working, and to recommend the Governor General in Council such measures as may tend to elevate the standards of university teaching and thereby promote the advancement of learning. The recommendations of Indian University Commission 1902. So many recommendations were put forth by the Commission for the improvement of university standards. Some of the major recommendations among them are: number 1, adoption of University of London as a model. Dear students, the model of the London University as modified in 1898 had some features, like first, every university ought to be a teaching university. Second, no college should be allowed full privilege unless it was thoroughly well staffed. Third, teachers must always be intimately associated with the government of the university. And fourth, the supreme governing body of the university was its Senate, which should not be too large. Then second recommendation is regarding the teaching university. The legal powers of the older universities should be enlarged so that all the universities may be recognized as teaching bodies. Third recommendation, that is reorganization of Senate and Syndicate. First, the Senate. The new governing body should be recruited, mainly or partly from the existing fellows, but the number should not exceed a maximum to be fixed by the rule. The Senate should be so composed as to give due weightage to the opinion of university and college teachers, especially heads of the college, persons distinguished by their attainment in any branch of learning and qualified to take part in university business, then representative members of the learned professions, and lastly, representatives of the government. However, no voting by proxy should be permitted in the Senate. A simple majority may suffice for the alteration of a regulation, since the sanction of the government is also required in such cases. Then the syndicate. The syndicate should not be a large body. The minimum number may be placed at 9, including the Vice Chancellor, and the maximum at 15. The Director of the Public Instruction should be ex officio, a member and a Vice Chairman of the Syndicate. Except in this case, there should be no ex officio appointments. The Syndicate should be elected by the Senate. Fourth recommendation is regarding teaching faculties. There should be a proper representation of the teachers and scholars of the affiliated colleges in the University Senate. Number 5th recommendation is regarding boards of studies. The Senate, subject to proper values of nomination and election, should appoint such boards of studies as it thinks necessary from among its own members. No book should be recommended by a board unless on the written report of some competent person who has read it. Such objections ought to be laid before the syndicate, which should be free either to dispose of them or to refer them to the board. Sixth recommendation is regarding the governing body and teaching staff of colleges. A college ought not to be dependent on the interest or caprice of an individual. Any surplus after the payment of the salaries and other necessary expenses should be spent on the improvement of the college. There should be a properly constituted governing body for each college. The teaching staff must be adequate to the courses of the study to be undertaken. Seventh one is rules for affiliation. New affiliation rules should be so framed for each university as to secure that no university shall be admitted to affiliation unless an independent report is presented by the Director of Public Instruction or some other competent authority showing why the new institution is required and what are the guarantees of its financial stability And secondly, that no institution, once admitted to affiliation, be allowed to fall below the standard of efficiency required for affiliation. Eighth one is regarding the course of study. Affiliation should be granted and from time to time renewed, not in general terms, but with more exact reference to the subjects and the course of study for which the college can make adequate provisions. In considering whether the provision which a college proposes to make for a particular subject is adequate, few points should be taken into consideration. The first, whether the college can provide an adequate number of the lecturers. The object of the lecturers should be to stimulate and guide the minds of his class, not to dispense them from the necessity of reading their books and thinking for themselves. Second, whether the college provide its students with adequate tutorial assistance. This ought in all cases is to be regarded as an essential part of college work. Fellows should give a part of their time to tutorial work. Third one is whether the students have access to a library and to the laboratories, etc., wherever required. The student should spend only a limited number of hours in class. During the rest of his working time, he should be reading, writing and inquiring for himself, not committing his lecture notes to memory. Number 9th is English and other languages. English as a second language should be made compulsory throughout the courses. Wherever possible, graduates with honors on the English side should be appointed lecturers, and they should be required to prepare their courses for publication. Vernacular composition should be made compulsory in every stage of the BA course, but the subject needs not to be taught. Then 10th recommendation is general scheme of examination. The previous system of examination should be abolished. The standard of matriculation should be raised. There should be uniformity in the nomenclature of the examination and degrees in arts and science at the different universities. The 3 examinations leading up to the arts and science degrees should be called the matriculation examination, the intermediate examination, and the examination for the degree of BA or BSc respectively. Next recommendation is regarding fees and scholarships. 2 primary considerations should be observed in the settlement of fees. Firstly, that they must not be pitched so higher as to check the spread of education, and secondly, that they must not be fixed so low as to tempt a poor student of ordinary ability to follow a university course which is not to his real interest to undertake. Scholarships should be provided by the state to really able but poor students to encourage them for higher education. Next recommendation is regarding the infrastructure. The syndicate should use every effort to ensure that the affiliated colleges are decently and suitably housed, and that there is adequate provision for the health and the comfort of the students. Where space permits, the principal and some of the professors should reside quite near or in the college. Colleges and their surroundings should be made more dignified and more attractive than in many cases they are. Then about the discipline of the students. Indian students are rarely guilty of disorder, but they need close and friendly supervision, and each college should consider how this need is to be met. Then recommendation on the residence of students. Students should be required to reside with parents or guardians. in lodgings approved by the university or by the college to which they belong, or in a hostel which may be defined as a place suitable for residence of students and under university or college supervision. One or more of the members of the college staff should reside in or quite near the hostel. The superintendent should not be an upper servant, but a person able to exercise more authority over the residents. Dear students, now let's have a look over the features of the period from 1902 to 1921. The period of about 20 years between the appointment of Indian University Commission in 1902 and the transfer of education to Indian control in 1921 form the fourth period in the history of modern Indian education. As compared with the Victorian era, it presents several distinctive features, which include: number first, larger finances available for education. A good and stable system of financial relation between central and provincial governments existed throughout the period. This encouraged better collection of revenue and greater vigilance in expenditure, with the result that the resources of the central and provincial governments improved considerably and enabled them to provide larger finances for education. The second source of additional finance was that of the central grants to education. Second feature is more active role of the state. Under the lead given by Lord Curzon, the doctrine of state withdrawal was officially abandoned, and it was held to be the duty of the state to maintain few institutions of every type as models to private enterprise. The inspecting staff was strengthened and a vigilant policy of inspection and supervision of private schools was adopted in the old policy of laissez-faire. Number third feature of this period is the efforts at qualitative improvement. Between 1854 and 1902, the principal objective of educational policy had been expansion rather than quality improvement. The assumption of the official policy was that some schools are better than no schools. But this outlook was entirely changed by the initiative taken by Lord Curzon. He started a drive for qualitative reform. Number fourth feature was unprecedented expansion of education. In spite of this official predilection of quality, there was an all-round and unprecedented expansion of education in all branches between 1901 to 1902. Number fifth feature, the important one, is the growth of a militant nationalism among the people. The spirit of nationalism was slowly growing between 1885 and 1902 under a surface of general loyalty to British rule, and was about to burst into a storm at the close of 19th century. The viceroyalty of Lord Curzon provided the immediate cause of this outburst. With all his great intellectual powers, infinite capacity for work, strong sense of duty, intense desire to serve the people of India, and magnificent achievements in almost all fields of administration, Curzon nevertheless wounded the educated intelligentsia beyond hope of reconciliation. So, dear students, we can conclude that on 27th of January 1902, the Indian Universities Commission was appointed under the chairmanship of Mr. Thomas Raleigh. Purpose of the commission was to help Lord Curzon to inquire into the conditions and prospects of the universities established in British India, then improving their constitution and working, and to recommend the Governor General in Council such measures as may tend to elevate the standards of universities, teaching and thereby promote the advancement of learning. Adoption of University of London as a model was the main recommendation of the Commission. So dear students, I hope you understood what Indian Universities Commission 1902 is all about. I hope you enjoyed the program. Thanks for watching.